Well, for our next speaker, he says it's not a case of if, but when, if you haven't already been a victim of cybercrime. Would you please welcome to the stage Jason Hart.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Jason Hart. I've been in information security for around about 20 years. For 10 years of my life, I was an ethical hacker. Ethical in the sense I had permission to pretty much hack into most of the Fortune 100 around the world. And for the other 10 years of my life, I've been heavily involved in inventing security products, which most of you would use on a daily basis. Really, for the next 10-15 minutes, I'm just going to talk about some of the emerging problems. I'm going to also show you some, well, hopefully a live hack, which you've all participated in, which hopefully should work. But before I start, one legal disclaimer, okay? The techniques that hackers are using and the bad guys are using on a day-to-day basis, they're not technical. Providing you can use a mouse or a keyboard, you can do this. And people think you need to be a geek to do this stuff. You don't. The way technology is moving, we are making it easier every single day for the bad guys to attack us, okay? So anything I show you, anything I talk about, if you decide to go away today, decide to hack your wife or your husband to check he's having an affair or not, or to compromise your business or your employer, you're responsible, okay? So, providing we're happy with that, I'm happy. So, do you have, okay, fine. So, what a great world we live in. How many people have an iPad or a tablet of some kind? Okay. How many people use it for their business and their personal life? How many people use the same device for business and personal? First problem, we have this cross-pollination of problems. An individual or a bad guy can compromise you as an individual, but then compromise your business. These are great. I endorse them in my business. You can even order a pair of jeans now and get paid for wearing jeans. That's pretty cool, yeah? So we cannot live without these. We have to embrace them. We have to move forward. However, they're creating a small problem, not just devices, just the way we're consuming IT now. On a daily basis, we read the press, we switch on the news, there has been a breach of some kind. Someone's been hacked. And this is the only ones we hear about or get told about. In this case here, there was even the hackers are getting breached and hacked. There's a website called Kali, where it's a testing tool. And is used within the hacking community quite a lot. Even they are getting hacked into. But one of the common things with every single attack that has occurred during the past 5 years is it's data. The bad guys want one thing, and it's data. That's all they want. Does anyone know what this is? Hands up. Free beer from me, if anyone can guess what this is. Please. Close. I'll buy you a beer. FBI, 1960. This is how they kept their data. Remember those little cards you write information on? This was their data center in 1960. It worked. They had an indexing system, all the criminals, all the informers. It was secure. It was physical security. They could control it. What's this now? This is the FBI's data center. It's virtual. It's in the cloud. So we've evolved very, very quickly. Let me give you some examples. In 2000, the world generated 2 exabytes of new information. That's in 1 year. In 2013, we did that in a day. 1 single day. Why are we doing this? Because our devices are creating data. You're creating data. So we have different types of data. And this is what the bad guys want. They want your data. They want your business's data. They want your wife's data. So this data comes in different formats. It comes in unstructured data. It's data at rest, data that's traveling. And every single type of data is a target for the bad guys. So at the early stage, we all got into remote working. Who remembers a modem? Hands up. Wow, okay, I thought I was old. 33.6 kilobytes per second, modem. I used to do something called war dialing. I'd have a bank of modems connected to my 386 computer, dialing for dollars, we used to call it, ringing all these different DDI phone numbers to try and traverse our way in. Then it evolved. We all had, the internet exploded. We had a VPN. Mobile working started. Then it was virtual environments. Then it was cloud. And suddenly all these things emerged and someone came up with the idea of big data. Everything we're doing is creating big data. But the problem is, we haven't kept up with this. If I go back 7, 8 years ago, we were kind of solving the information security problem, where you would go out to dinner, have too many beers, leave your laptop in a taxi, and then suddenly you see it on the news next day because you work for maybe a government, and all this data was there. We learned, we encrypted it, we protected it. Then we started installing antivirus, and we were kind of getting there, yeah? Then IT steamed ahead. How many of you now have antivirus on your iPad? Why? How many of you encrypt your data? So we've got a real problem, yeah? This is you, or your boss. What do I do? You've got to embrace technology. It's great, just like the story about the jeans, phenomenal. I'll be ordering mine. It's great, yeah? A small startup, zero marketing budget, but using the power of the web, social media. Amazing story. We have to embrace it. We have to do something about it. But in order to do that, we have to start thinking about our data and how we're protecting ourselves as individuals and also as businesses. So a new approach is required. We have to change our mindset. We have to think differently because the bad guys are after one thing, and that's data. They don't care what type of data it is. Let me give you an example. I live just outside of Bristol in North Somerset, and I have a very good friend of mine. He basically sells second-hand Massey Fergusons. Does anyone know what a Massey Ferguson is? Okay, it's a tractor. And he sells those into Eastern Europe. Great small business. He's empowered and embraced the web. And all the selling and buying is done on the web. His website was compromised. They changed the prices of his Massey Ferguson tractors by 20%. Because it's all automated and online, those transactions were happening. The only time he realized was because he'd never had so many orders in one day. And he was liable. Luckily for him, he managed to back out of some of them. So it doesn't matter who you are or what your business is. Everyone is a potential victim. So let's go right the way back to the beginning. Bit of education here, okay? So I got involved in information security about 20 years ago. I was taught some fundamental basics. The first one was confidentiality. How confidential is my information or my data? The integrity. People make decisions on their business based on data. If that data, the integrity of the data, is incorrect, we've got a real problem. I was in Germany a couple of weeks ago, so I spend most of my time traveling the world advising organizations and, on security problems and merging problems. And again, farming community. They're embracing technology. So all new tractors now have sensors on. These sensors are sampling the quality of the soil. And also, they can measure the quality of the grain and the harvest. But that's an added value service they get the farmers to subscribe to, but they're getting that data. Guess what that data is being used for? Commodities, stocks and market. So all this information is going into the cloud, and basically the commodity market are buying that information. So what would happen if the hackers was to gain access to that data in transit, as it's communicating up to the cloud from the tractor, and divide that information by 2? The markets suddenly believe they're going to have a bad harvest. So what do the bad guys do? They buy stock. And this is what's happening. And this is also going to be a bigger problem of Internet of Things, because security is not even considered. So we have to think about the confidentiality, the integrity. The availability is dealt with, yeah? Virtualization, cloud, problem solved. But also accountability. We need to make people accountable for their actions they do within your business, if it's connecting or logging in or logging out. And then we need to be able to make it auditable. We need to audit it to prove it. So these are the fundamental basic principles of information security. And like I said, on a daily basis, I work with some of the largest organizations in the world. They're not even doing this. So, welcome to the next generation, okay? As I said, 10 years of my life, ethical hacker, I used to dial in, okay? We used to dial in and look for web servers, traverse our way into the phone systems, PBX phone systems. Then it changed. The internet exploded. So what would normally take me a week would maybe take me 2 or 3 days. But now, it's virtual. We're in a virtual world. The cloud, virtualization. And what's protecting these environments? A password. So if I have a valid username and password, I'm just going to access your data. A firewall. Firewall to me or a bad guy is a speed bump. It just slows them down slightly. But if the firewall sees a valid username and password, it lets them in. So we're in this virtual world with virtual risks. And we have to start thinking differently. Fact. Or should we just stick to what we know best? Keep using our iPads. Keep using virtualization. Or accept we're going to be breached. Interesting stats earlier on. 51% was it? I won't be hacked. Really? I'm going to prove you're wrong in 5 minutes. Some interesting facts. In a recent survey conducted by Verizon, and this is a global survey, and by the way, this is only people that have admitted being breached, okay? 69% of breaches were spotted by a third party. 69%, wow. 76% of the breaches that occurred were based on a stolen credential. A credential, username and password. Because it's the easiest way to breach anyone. So, we need a new approach. What is that approach? So, if you know anything about information security, I just want you to reset, hard reset, yeah? Just forget about it because it's not working. I want to create a new mindset. I want to transform your mind from breach prevention. Yeah? Stop thinking, oh, I'm going to protect, put another firewall in. It works, but it's prevention. I want acceptance. Accept you're going to be breached. Because you will. I guarantee it. I'll put a house on it. You will be breached. So forget breach prevention, breach acceptance. Just accept you're going to be breached. Based on that acceptance, you can start thinking slightly differently. What is it I'm trying to protect? I speak to all organizations and I say, what is it you're trying to protect in your business? And I just get people staring at me, dumb. Well, my business. But what is your business? It's data. But what type of data? You've got to decide what data you need to protect in your business. Is it your customers? Is it financial? Is it your sales leads? We need to think like a bad guy. So think, what would a bad guy want in my business? He may not be going after your business directly, but he will just log in and hoover all that information out and sift through it. He'll find something there that is of interest to himself. But you need to think, hold on, if my business is going to be on the ITN News or BBC News, wouldn't it be great to say, yes, we were breached, but it was a secure breach? Because the data that is stolen is unreadable. It's pointless. It has no value to the bad guy. So we need to kill the data. How do you kill the data? It's very simple. You encrypt it. But you don't only encrypt it, you need to do key management as well. So when people encrypt their data, there's a key to open it back up. But guess what they do? They store that key within the data. So all the major breaches you've seen in the news recently, they were all using encryption. They were kind of doing it right. But the key was also within the data. So the bad guy's gone, oh, there's the key, I'll unlock it. So you need to start thinking, if you're encrypting data, how are you managing the key as well? It is really that simple. Going back 15 years ago, 18 years ago, there was something called the Jericho Forum. And they said, look, data is going to be the ultimate target for bad guys. We need to start thinking how we're going to protect it. But at the time, all the data was internal. It wasn't in the cloud. It wasn't in a virtual environment. And let me give you an example there. 4 or 5 years ago, you'd back up your data. You'd store it on a backup tape. That backup tape would go in a safe. Because you're kind of paranoid, yeah? We don't even use backup tapes now. We back up to the cloud. We back up to a virtual environment. And again, the thing that's protecting those environments is a password. So cloud virtualization loves crypto. So what we're going to do now, very quickly, is one live hack. What I've done here, I've involved you all. So these are all your mobile devices in this room, correct? And I'm going to do something called a karma attack. And what a karma attack does is every Wi-Fi enabled device is always probing out for its trusted Wi-Fi. So your devices are configured to connect to trusted Wi-Fis because you know you shouldn't really be connecting to public Wi-Fis. So you've said, only connect to my home, only connect to my business. We've got people going in their pockets here trying to turn their phones off. So what I'm going to do with a special pineapple, as it's called, this device here, which has been running for the duration of my talk, has been telling all your devices it is the trusted Wi-Fi. So now if you start looking at your mobile phones, it will say it's connected to your office or a trusted Wi-Fi you know, but it's certainly not connected to the Celtic Manor. By doing that, what can a bad guy do? He can intercept all of the traffic, sniff all your passwords, sniff all your credit card information without you even knowing. And just to show you how easy it was, oh, by the way, I must caveat 2 things. I've only done the first part of the attack here, okay? Which is, I've done nothing illegal. All I've done is a karma attack and said, I am that trusted Wi-Fi. I haven't sniffed, captured any information at all, but it's just the first step phase of the attack. Everything else just becomes really easy. So let's quickly show you. So, hopefully, what we have here. So we just go to the logs a second. Come on, loading, loading, loading data. So this is just going to list all of the Wi-Fis that your devices are requesting, asking for. So here we go. So if we just scroll down very quickly. So here's some of the Wi-Fis. You may recognize these: Principal, Hey, Virgin Media. So all these, Motorpoint, Mazda, these are all the Wi-Fis that all of your devices have connected to over time, and they're searching for. Now, if I go back to devices and device names, if we refresh, here we go. On the right-hand side, these are the Wi-Fis that your phones have connected to or believe they've connected to. So we've got David's Air, we've got Mary, we've got Kate, we've got Gavin's, we've got Simon's iPhone, we've got pretty much everyone in this room. So if you look at your name there and look at your device will say it's connected to that Wi-Fi on the right-hand side. And all of that has happened automatically without you even doing anything. I've just done that. If I wanted to now, I just, with a click of a button, because all your apps are talking to the internet, connecting, email, I just put a sniffer on. And I sniff that traffic, and I see all of your usernames and passwords. It's that easy. So, all I want you to do is just start thinking about how you're protecting your data, be it in the virtual environment, or be it in the cloud, okay? Because these techniques the bad guys are using are extremely simple, and some of the biggest attacks that have occurred during the past 4 or 5 years have been some of the most basic attacks you can imagine. Thank you.